Hello, everybody, and give us 1 second to play this intro video for you. All right, it looks like we're having a few issues with getting that, I guess, intro to work properly, but it is what it is. We are here with another Tarot Thursday with Psychic Marin, and
Hello.
today we are discussing one of the or some of the top 5 chaos cards, especially since we are in Mercury retrograde. So these are kind of more of the cards that will kind of indicate a little bit more of upheaval of current events or your situation, some indicators of change, if I'm correct, Marin. But
Yes, you are.
she is one of our tarot experts here at California Psychics. So today we're going to be going through a lot of different tarot information straight from the source and one of our experts from one of our fan favorite psychics with Psychic Marin here. And stay tuned because we will also have time for general card pulls later in the live stream right after today's lesson. But Psychic Marin, you could go ahead and take it away for today because I'm excited to hear about this too.
Thank you, Carson. And I almost feel like that little technical glitch was a perfect segue into what we're discussing because these are the top 5 cards that pair very well with the chaos that we feel in a Mercury retrograde, which we are now in until April 7th. So, a little tiny tidbit about Mercury retrograde. You've probably heard about it. It's kind of the buzzword, but Mercury retrograde has to do with the planet Mercury when it appears. It doesn't quite actually move in a backwards motion, but the relationship to planet Earth appears like it's moving backwards. I've always used the analogy if you were in a train and a train next to you and you both took off, but you were going just a little bit faster, eventually it would look like that train is going backwards, although it's not. So Mercury, when in a retrograde, disrupts communication, timelines, anything having to do with contracts or the written word, emails, appointment times, because Mercury is the planet that affects technology and communication. That's why we see it affect these areas in our life and why we have to pay extra attention to these. So if you are missing appointments or your friend showed up a little bit late for a lunch plan, your boyfriend forgot that today was the date night, those things are unfortunately more frequent during a retrograde. And I have 5 tarot cards that I'm going to go over very briefly one by one so we can just get a little bit of a deeper understanding of these cards. I always teach the tarot by living it. If you live through the tarot, you learn a little bit more about the tarot cards because you feel it. So, unfortunately, you might have a little bit of a relationship to these cards right now because this is what a Mercury retrograde feels like. Starting with card number 1, we have the 5 of Wands. The 5 of Wands is a passionate card because we're dealing with wands, which are associated with the element of fire. So, this is a fiery battle. You can see all of these people using the wands as weapons. They're not using this wands for creative manifestation. They've kind of turned on one another and they are now fighting and they are in this battle. Traditionally, all of the 5s that you see within the tarot are a little disharmonious. Let's say they peak 1 through 10. We hit the top with that 5, and then the cards kind of decline. So, most of the 5s, like if I were to pull up the 5 of Pentacles, also a dark night of the soul, poverty. 5 of Cups, loneliness and loss. Just to get an idea, those 5s aren't typically that positive. And with this 5 of Wands, we've got just outright fighting, bickering battle. This is what communication can feel like. This is sometimes that energy in a Mercury retrograde where you just can't communicate clearly with your partner. You think that the sky's blue, they think that it's teal. Like there's just a battle of unnecessarily unnecessary energy and confusion often associated with this card, where the goal when this comes up in a reading is to recognize, are you in this battle? Are you a part of the problem, or do you need to drop that wand, drop your weapon, change your perspective, and step out and be more part of the solution? So, Five of Wands is a tricky energy you might be feeling these days. Next is the Devil card, and this is a card associated with addictive behavior, these chains that are binding us. We see this devil seated on a rectangular, not a square. The square is symbolic of perfect balance and harmony, which we see with all of the royalty, the kings and queens, the emperor, those individuals that are powerful and grounded and balanced. Well, the devil is not. So that's why he is seated on a rectangle. And within this card, we see this power over Adam and Eve. Let's call them Adam and Eve, or this partnership, this soul partnership. These are supposed to be seen as spiritual man, spiritual female. And over them, what's dominating them is this power and this control that leaves them vulnerable, somewhat helpless. So, this card, even though it's not so much like a Mercury retrograde card, it is the type of card that leaves you feeling powerless, where Mercury retrogrades remind us that we can either fight this, which feels like you're swimming upstream the whole time, or you surrender to that energy and you learn how to work with it. So with the devil, these are individuals that are just fighting that control, that power, that addiction. If you can learn to work with that and heal, if you can learn to break these chains, you're going to be breaking free from this control and this power, which sometimes kind of feels like a Mercury retrograde. Number 3, this card is the worst nightmare card. But remember, it's only a nightmare. This is the Nine of Swords, and this person is awakening from a nightmare, and she's crying and crying and crying. We've got her blanket, which is adorned with all of these astrological symbols and roses. So there is some ingrained symbolism if you look really close and you see all of that imagery, but a very simple card otherwise, where she's just faced with this grief and this nightmare. But if you remember, wait a second, it's only a nightmare. This isn't my reality, thank goodness. So what can I do to make sure that I am avoiding this nightmare from really occurring? It's like a sneak little peek of, it's not that bad. You may be crying over spilt milk. Like that's kind of the theme of this card. So remember, it's really not that bad. You're going to get through it. Our fourth card today is the Seven of Cups. This is seen as just having your head in the clouds. Often in a retrograde, we feel that fog. It's a little confusing. Maybe we're just not thinking as straight. So, this card definitely parallels that feeling of a retrograde where you are unsure of what you are really wanting, what you're choosing. You're lured into kind of this seven deadly sins energy. This individual's looking into the clouds, and they are shown beauty, they're shown gluttony, they're shown all the seven deadly sins that these different vessels, these cups are holding. And so this individual's looking at it going, oh my gosh, I want it all. I want the wealth, I want the beauty, I want the delicious food and the laurel wreath of victory. Like I want it all. But that's not reality. So that's why this card is associated with kind of having your head in the clouds. You're just bewildered. You're showered with so much luxury that you're kind of not in the normal reality of life. Sometimes this card may come up in a new relationship if you're asking about a partner, or like, show me just a little bit about Bob. What does Bob think of me, or what's my relationship like with Bob? Well, is Bob imagining you as just this perfect woman? Is his head in the clouds? This card can come up in so many different situations, and depending on that situation, we can kind of interpret it slightly differently for each scenario. But in a Mercury retrograde, this is a card that indicates like, I'm having a really hard time making a decision. I'm very foggy. I'm overwhelmed, not thinking clear. Again, that's the Seven of Cups. And our last card, if I could pick one card to represent a Mercury retrograde, it would be the Tower. And that tower, like I was discussing earlier, of you either are working with this chaotic energy or you're fighting against it. That is what the energy of the tower is. The tower brings out of every single card in the tarot, the tower is the one card that brings the most chaotic energy that you have to surrender to, or it gets worse. So in this card, we see these individuals that are being thrown out of their house, or did they leap, did they jump? We don't know, but in theory the tower's on fire, their house is on fire. It's been hit by this lightning bolt. It is raining down all these little spiritual yods, which are Hebrew letters. So there is a spiritual intervention. This isn't just seen as bad luck or something's just happening to you continuously. This is seen as there is a spiritual significance behind it. This is supposed to actually happen because it does rebuild your life. It does help you. But in the midst of it, it sure doesn't feel that way. So we have this lightning bolt that has come in that has zapped this tower. It's caught your house on fire. You're leaping from chaos. And where do you go? How do you start your life over? You can imagine what this energy feels like. And so, this theme, this underlying feeling of you either just go with the flow and you learn and you grow and you adapt and you start to have a different perspective. You start to see things, you learn more about yourself, you grow. Otherwise, you're going to be fighting this. If you didn't take that leap, if you weren't ready for the change, you'd be burn up, you'd perish. And so this card is really showing you that amidst all of this chaos that you might be feeling, if you just surrender to it rather than fighting it, you're going to see things differently. You're going to start to learn. You're going to find a little glimmer of hope that you can work with that hopefully get your life on a different track. And it's the track that's going to bring you more joy and more growth in the long run. So if there was one card, as I said, one card associated with Mercury retrogrades, it would be this Tower card. But now you have an overview of the top 5 cards in the tarot that have to do with chaos and that uncomfortable Mercury retrograde energy that's going to fortunately be leaving us on April 7th. Mercury retrograde happens usually 3-4 times a year, and it lasts for about 3 weeks. And it is a time where we go backwards to think of those first 2 letters RE in a retrograde. We rewind, we redo, we revise, we revisit anything that is self improving, anything that has to do with reviewing something, refurbishing. This is an excellent time for cleaning out closets. If you found yourself on like this spring cleaning spree where now you've got this extra energy and motivation to clean, or you're going to tear through your taxes and go through bills and revisit and revise accounting to set yourself up for a better financial future this year. This is the time where you might feel that surge of energy that's going to help you repair things from the past to bring you a better future moving forward.
All right, Marin, that was a wonderful lesson that we went over today. Again, those were the 5 cards that kind of indicate some chaos and change.
Yes.
We do have a question about card number 4, which was the 9 of Swords.
Yes.
Daniel was wondering what that card might mean in a reverse position before we move on to our general card pulls later in the live stream.
Thank you, Daniel. In a reverse position, it still indicates that it is that difficulty of a nightmare situation. It just means that it's diminishing. It's a little bit easier. It's not nearly as bad. It would not indicate the complete opposite, where if this is in an upright position saying, this is your worst nightmare. A lot of people fumble this and think, oh my gosh, it is your worst nightmare. It is that bad. This is horrible. No, this is just showing that it is feeling pretty rough, but this is actually going to go away pretty quickly. It's going to fade a lot faster than you realize. So it's a lot softer than if this was in an upright position.
All right. And then our second question comes from Z, who was asking about card number 5, the Tower card.
Yes.
Or she actually has a couple of questions about the Tower card. Can the Tower card be perceived as something that shows that a new beginning is on the way for you?
It can, but this card typically is an indicator that like you're still in the midst of that chaos, but immediately after this is rebirth and growth, because when your house is on fire, when you've been thrown out, this card literally does come up sometimes in the case of an eviction or when you're getting kicked out, your boyfriend and you had a big argument, so you pack your bags and leave. Like this card can indicate that physical structure of a home. And it very often does. It means that there's fighting or chaos within that home. So the tower, like Rapunzel's tower, this is that tower. It's also very phallic. Like if you look at the structure of the tower with this crown right here, this also has a very explosive, typically more associated with a masculine energy, and it just means like this eruption, this volcano, this volatility. So it does often mean that you are knee deep in the chaos and the explosion, but right after this is the rebuild, because when you're left with this, you're left with shambles, you're left with ashes, so you have nothing left other than to rebuild. So yes, it is typically like the precursor to a new beginning. Great question.
All right, Z, that was a wonderful question, and we'll get to your other one here in just a moment. But we do have another one, or I think we have one from T. Oh, excuse me. T is wondering, when these cards are pulled, what kind of the timelines would maybe be associated with them? Or would it kind of just depend on, I guess, the question that is being asked, or maybe even just the circumstances slash outcome?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any specific timelines associated to them, or is it just kind of depend?
Well, I could say that. mm, I think just to avoid any confusion, Carson, you're pretty spot on with this. There are some cards within the tarot, and I was looking rather quickly to see. There are some that do have to do with timing, especially those knights. We've talked about the knights before and the position of the horses. If you look at the knights, you'll see some of the horses are in a trot, some are standing still. We've got the Knight of Wands, and he is off to the races. So the knights are timing cards. Also, the Eight of Wands with that fastness, swiftness, the Chariot. These are all timing cards. However, the cards that we went over today, not so much. Those typically wouldn't be associated with something like traditionally seen as a timing card. But in theory, I could say that the Nine of Swords, this is a very contemplative card. You're kind of sitting there. It's a more still card. There's not a lot of energy and movement in this card as compared to the Tower. The Tower has a lot of energy and movement. So if you were to say maybe there's a pace to this card, a little bit more so, I could give you that. But traditionally, no, these really aren't cards that are used as timing like the knights are, or certainly if that Eight of Wands came up, that would really be an indicator of this swiftness and fast.
All right, T. Hopefully that can kind of answer your question a little bit. But that was a wonderful answer, I thought, from you, Marin. We are going to be switching over to our general card pull section here in just a moment, but we do have some other general questions about some of the stuff we saw today and other general tarot questions.
Okay.
Next, we have one from Randy, but I do actually want to pause for just a second, real quick, before we get into Randy's question. And I did want to shout out a couple of things. One, if you've been enjoying today's Tarot Thursday lesson with Psychic Marin, you might want to subscribe to our profile on YouTube or follow us on Facebook for more Tarot Thursday opportunities with Psychic Marin. And also, if you want that one-on-one reading experience with Psychic Marin, where you can discuss more tarot related information or anything else, I would do want to specify that Marin is not limited to just tarot knowledge, but Tarot Thursday does kind of roll off the tongue. So we like to make it a little bit of a themed live stream. But Psychic Marin is one of our fan favorites and top rated psychics on CaliforniaPsychics.com. I seriously cannot stress enough. You can look at so many reviews that she has. She's been with us for over a decade at this point and is just absolutely wonderful if you get that one-on-one reading experience with her. And you can use that code right below me, my camera, growth20, to get 20% off your very next purchase, which you can use towards your next reading with Psychic Marin here. Marin, can you let everybody know when is that very next time you are going to be online and ready for one-on-one readings on CaliforniaPsychics.com for those who maybe want to get that personal experience with you?
Thank you, Carson. I'm going to be on later this evening. Typically, I try to make it right after these lives. I've got some personal appointments today, so I'll be on later this evening. And then I also have time Friday evening, Saturday evening, and all day long Sunday. My normal schedule is I usually break up afternoon and hours, few hours in the afternoon, few hours every evening, so I can accomplish all the different time zones to make myself available.
Yes. And if you're having any troubles booking with Marin, you can always give our gifted customer care line a call at California Psychics as well. And if you are wanting that guaranteed answer to your question, make sure to go to California Psychics and get that one-on-one reading experience with any of our gifted psychics, like Psychic Marin here. We do try our best to answer as many questions as we can during today's live stream. But if you are wanting that guaranteed insight, make sure you go to California Psychics. And again, use that code growth20. I do want to make sure everybody can take advantage of that code. Write it down if you need to as well. But we are returning back to our Tarot Thursday live stream, and we'll be answering some general card pulls just in a few moments. Randy is asking you, though, about some more insight into your knowledge of Tarot, Marin. How would you interpret the 8, 9, and 10 of swords kind of in succession whenever it would come to a 3-card pull? Now, I guess it would also sort of matter what sort of card pull you are doing, whether it would be a past, present, future, or any other sort of intent behind your card pull. But for this sort of instance, I would say, for example, could you go ahead and do us a 3-card pull for the past, present, and future?
I sure can. And while I'm grabbing that 8, I can multitask, because while I'm grabbing that 8, what I wanted to comment on is we had a prior question about the tower, and was that really an indicator of new beginnings? And what I was searching for, sorry if I looked a little distracted while Carson was speaking, but I was trying to find this star card because I wanted to show you the sequence within the tarot. What follows this tower of chaos is the star card. So it's not necessarily like new beginnings like we see in the sun, which is, I believe, 2 cards after this one. This is the card of you're free from any materialistic possessions. Your house has caught fire. You've been kicked out. You don't have any of your clothes. You're now nude, and all you have is your being, yourself, and you've got 1 foot on water, 1 foot on land. You're perfectly balanced, and you have this star that is just guiding you. Spirit is guiding you. So in the midst of the loss and the chaos of this card, sometimes there is more peace when you are just one with spirit. So this doesn't always mean like an immediate new beginning, but there is an immediate sense of spiritual connectedness and peace. So I just wanted to point that sequence out. That might be a visual that helps that previous question. And I am going to go back to finding. Let me just have one more second to get that 8 of swords for you. Here we
But
go.
I did want to say thank you, Randy, for your question as well. Are you still looking for
Yep,
cards, Marin?
got
Okay,
it.
cool.
Got it, Carson. Thank you. So we've got the 8 of swords, the 9 of swords, oopsie daisy, the 9 of swords, and the 10 of swords. This is going to be probably better if I scoot back. Let me do it in reverse because the camera's backwards. So the 8 of swords is I'm breaking free. I'm trying to break free. I've ran away as far as I can from this home, this castle in the background. I've been stuck. I've been trapped. I finally got the motivation, and I can't make it any further. I'm blindfolded. I'm bound. I'm stuck. I don't know what else to do. So in a 3 card, depending on how it was asked, we went over 3 card spreads. Goodness, I'm not sure how many sessions ago this was. I think it was probably about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. There is a relationship spread PDF file that's on Facebook. If you were to look at this, it doesn't necessarily have to be relationship, but this is just an example of 3 cards: past, present, future, mind, body, spirit, first month, second month, third month, subconscious, conscious, you get the idea. So there's a lot of options for how to do a 3 card spread. So depending on how this person structured that 3 card pool or what questions they were asking would be very, very relevant to this interpretation and the sequence. But what these cards would mean in a traditional series in the tarot is I've gotten as far as I can. I've been stuck. I finally have the freedom, and oh my gosh, this is just awful. It's work. Like I can't go any further. I'm trapped. I'm stuck. I'm blindfolded. I'm bound. This is my worst nightmare. What am I doing? I can't seem to persevere, and I just can't get out of this situation. So now I am face down. I have all these knives in my back. Like, it's kind of a gruesome expression, but you're dead. You're deader than dead. So the only next step, because this is a 10 and numerologically this is the end of a cycle, it's now time to go back to that ace, and that is that ace of swords, which is a thumbs up saying time to start over, new beginnings. So this could be very cyclic if you're in a relationship where there's fighting and then you get back together, fighting, breakup, back together. So this card series is very uncomfortable. Like, this is not something that we want to be experiencing over and over again. But the 10 of swords, even though it is pretty rough, having this sense of your face down, your face is in the mud, you've got not only knives but 10 knives in your back that are pushing you down into the ground. You're done. So it's better at this stage in life just to cut your losses and start again. There isn't much coming back from this when you are just done. It's time to reinvent yourself and start the cycle over again. So I hope that that answers his question, or what Randy was trying to understand here, because I really want to know the context of what that 3 card pull was if you were to get these in a 3 card. But it's not a pleasant energy. That's for sure.
All right. Thank you, Randy, for your question as well. I did want to remind everybody that we are going to be starting our general card pulls here in just a moment. And I did want to thank everybody for their comments and also all the questions during today's Tarot Thursday, during the lesson portion of today's live stream. Here we are going to be beginning our general card pull section of the live. We can go ahead and answer audience questions. So you can request a card pull from Psychic Marin in the live in the chat, and we will go ahead and pull cards to answer. We will be answering for about 15 to 20-ish minutes. We will not be going, hopefully, for the full hour today, but we want to thank you, everybody, again for everybody's comments and questions about just the cards that we saw today. Again, we discussed the 5 cards that can kind of excuse me, chaos and
Chaos.
change.
Yeah.
But especially during Mercury retrograde, because Mercury retrograde is going to be ending here on the 7th, which is just in a few days. But let us know if you also enjoyed today's lesson portion of the live stream as well. But as we start off with answering questions, our first one will be for Susan. Susan is going to be asking, just for a general card, please, Marin, what is the insight that Susan needs to know?
Not a very pleasant energy. This is boundaries. This is a card of back off. This is a 7 of Wands. So we talked about wands earlier being that suit of power and fire and all this passion. But Susan needs to have some boundaries. So this is Susan basically defending. If you could imagine down below where we see all these little wands, if you could imagine those as like somebody just poking at you and poking at you, and all these people are just needing you and getting at you and poking at you. Your job is to say, back off, everybody. I need some boundaries right now. So that's what Susan is working on. 7 of Wands.
All right, Susan, we hope that card resonated with you, and definitely give Psychic Marin a call on CaliforniaPsychics.com if you are looking for more insight as well, maybe some additional insight about that card you received. But if you are wanting that one-on-one reading experience, make sure you go to CaliforniaPsychics.com or the California Psychics app. And Marin, can you go ahead and shout out real quick, when is the very next time you are going to be one-on-one available for one-on-one readings on our website or app for those who are interested in reaching you over the phone?
I will be on tonight and also Friday night and Saturday night. Sunday, I will be on all day long. This is a little bit different of a week for me, but my typical hours are I have afternoon and evening hours pretty much every day of the week. And I try to accommodate all the different time zones. But if there's ever a time where you've wanted to read for me, but say it's like you want 9 in the morning or I'm never available, then you can always reach out to customer service or send me a direct message and request a special time.
Yes, and if just like Marin said, if you're having any trouble booking with her, give our wonderful customer care line a call, and also make sure you use that code GROWTH20 underneath me to get 20% off your very next purchase. This is a code special to our social media channels, so thank you for attending today's live stream today. We want to make sure that y'all can benefit and use that code GROWTH20. Make sure you write it down. It will be expiring here around the mid-month, so make sure you get your chance to use it. We want to make sure that y'all get a cool gift just for attending our live streams and being a part of our social media. So our next question, also heading back to our Tarot Thursday, Marin, Gabriella is wondering for a general card, kind of to do with, I guess, a financial card, a general financial card.
General financial card. 10 of Wands. This is a heavy, heavy burden. This is showing a lot of financial burdens. What was interesting though, I rarely have ever had this happen. When I went to pull the card, it was almost like it's in a sideways position, not quite reversed, but I did think it was worthy of noting that when the card came towards me, it kept wanting to almost turn, like what it's showing or what the question is the financial burdens or the financial upheaval is starting to improve. So even though on the surface this isn't like the best card, this is a heavy card. Funny fact, if you look at the cover of the Led Zeppelin album, I think it's Led Zeppelin, like the 4 album, where you've got this man, it's the one that's got Stairway to Heaven on it, that's very famous. He's got all of these bushels, like all these sticks, and it's a man hunched over carrying all these sticks on his back. That came from the 10 of Wands. That's where that imagery was from. That's what that album, or that's what that was replicated after, is kind of some hidden symbolism in that album. So here we've got that similar energy, although he's holding him up at front, album's got him on his back, but it's that same theme of you've got all these responsibilities and all these burdens, and what can you start to drop? What little subscriptions that you are monthly subscribed to that you can maybe cancel? What can you do to get on top of those finances, because you're packing a lot of responsibilities that it's like back breaking work that you're so hunched over. So it is feeling though like it's going to start to lift. And September, they just timeline wise, September. So I think the real question is like, when are finances improving? When are you doing well? And that's going to be September this year.
Amazing. Gabriella, we want to thank you for that question as well. We hope that card insight from Psychic Marin also resonated with you, and definitely let us know if it did in the chat as well. She did also say thank you just for about halfway through, just wanting to say thank you for picking that card as well, Marin.
Yes.
Our next card pull is going to be from T. T is going to be asking for more of a career card.
Okay.
I guess a career and a love card. We have two card pulls here.
Okay. I
One
was
is
hesitating. I felt like there was something more to, I started to pull and then I hesitate. Start to pull. Okay. So let me hear it first and then I'll pull.
so she is asking more about her career card, just kind of, or her career, if she's wanting, if her podcast is going to be successful, and if there's going to be a relationship this year.
Okay. So career card, relationship card. Hold on. Let me get the ooh, that's a rough one. Okay. Career card. This is I want to ask, like, is there an aspect of your podcast that has to do with wellness or health in general? Because this is coming up as this is Temperance. We know her to be the healing angel. And there is this little third eye enlightenment that's sometimes seen as that old fashioned, like doctor's light or that miner's light of where you look. You've got this beam that's really showing that, like, focus, that streamlined focus. So this is enlightenment. You're focused. You're being divinely led, which is why we've got this illuminated halo around you. You are tempering. The term tempering is back and forth until it's perfect. 1 foot on land, 1 foot on water. So you have found the balance, like you found what works. So this is not a card of like reinventing the wheel or that you need all this change. What this is showing me is you've probably troubleshooted and gone back and forth to finally find this balance. But because this is archangel energy and healing energy, it just made me question if by chance the podcast has something to do with health and healing or wellness, because this is showing like you've got it, like you've nailed it, or now's not the time to really change a lot more, like you're in that fine tuning phase. But this would be seen as a very positive, but maybe minimal changes in comparison to any grandeur. No big changes at this point. You've got something that's working for you. So continue with that enlightenment, or know that you're divinely led. And this does feel like it's very positive. However, if I look at relationship, I wish I could say that it was as positive. This is grief. This is that 5 of Cups energy. We talked about this just a tad earlier when we went over some of the cards of chaos. This 5, as I was saying, 5s are typically more painful cards. But the positive about this, you must still be suffering the loss. And that's why your focus, this individual's focus, is what's right in front of them, what they don't have, which is all of these empty cups. All cups are love. Cups are associated with the suit of water, which is emotion and love. And so right in front of you, you've had a heartbreak, you've had a loss. And so you're focused on that loss. But if you just turned around, if there was a change in perspective, meaning if you were doing something different, if you were taking a different course, a different driving course, different dating sites, meeting different people, if there was action in your life to truly change your perspective, meaning that this individual turns around and looks at things differently, you'd find that love instead of focusing on the loss. So for now, I'm getting early next year. I feel like you will meet people, but I don't see like that real solid relationship until February of next year. But man, this feels to me like it is something that can be modified, or something that you could will and make happen sooner. This doesn't feel like that's a hard calendar date time frame that they're giving me. This is something that it's more of, I imagine, oh shucks, I put that other temperance card away already, but I imagine you're just pretty busy with career, and so you haven't had as much focus on love.
That was a wonderful answer, Marin. And T, I hope that card resonated with those cards resonated with you as well. We want to thank you for attending today's live stream too. Our next question comes for Verena, and we want to thank you everybody for those card or those questions as well. We will try to answer as many as we possibly can today, and I have seen many who have just put one question in, so don't feel like your question hasn't been seen. And I've got a few that on our list as well, so make sure to stick around. I have seen a lot of y'all's questions. Don't feel like you haven't been drowned out. So Verena's question, though, is requesting a dealer's choice. She's kind of needing help in a little bit of all areas, but more so in her professional area with finances and career. So she is just looking for any advice that the cards may have. And also, T just wants to say thank you, a huge thank you to you as well for that last reading, Marin.
Yes, you're welcome, T. Interesting that this does not really relate to career aspects, but this is more of like, where could your focus be placed during difficulty? And this is that harmony of love, relationships, the family. This is seen as often a marriage celebration. This is the Four of Wands. Behind this individual, you've got the little kids playing in the background, and you've got that castle. So in times of this financial or career difficulty and frustration, it's kind of like, but it's important to appreciate what you do have. And you might not have as much of the financial stability that you would like to have, or the career stability, but what you've got is just this abundance of love, or this abundance of family and support. And so I just don't see you going under. Like, what I don't see are images of things getting worse. What I'm seeing is it's like it's time that you're kind of buckling down, time to like bust out the Monopoly game, and family time, or celebrating and coming together as family to combat some of that heavier energy that you're feeling about career and finances. But this seems like it's a really positive. I keep you're a little tricky when I'm reading you, because I keep getting images of family, but then this often comes up as showing there's going to be a marriage. So I'm a little perplexed, because I feel like you're in a family, but then this could indicate marriage for you. So I'm trying to piece together in a super quick amount of time what this means. It makes me wonder, are you going to a wedding, or is your family going to a wedding? But I definitely feel like love is in the air for you, and that you've got great family support surrounding you, and that's hopefully going to get you through these bumpier financial times. August is when I start to see that improving, but I still feel like it's going to be a little bit more tight or responsible for you this year.
Wonderful. Verena, I want to thank you for attending today's live stream, and I hope that card did provide you with a little bit of insight that you were looking for. Our next card pull, real quick, goes to Allison. Allison is requesting a love card, please. And thank you, Allison, for waiting.
Love card. This is the Six of Wands. You let me bite my tongue, because I want to make sure this comes across properly. This is a card of needing a lot of cheering and attention and support. And so you are seated on this horse. And imagine, like I was giving that analogy in that other card, all of these wands that you see poking and cheering. What this card reminds me of when I see it, my sons both played football. So I imagine like at the end of a football game when somebody made like the final touchdown that won the game and everybody hoists that person up into the air and the team comes together and they all pump them up and lift them up. That's what the energy and the feel is of this card. And so I don't want to make it seem like, wow, you need all this attention, because that's not what my words mean. But you need the type of relationship that's going to make you feel special, or that you've been trying to pursue love or relationship, but you just, that's what's lacking in your love life, is that feeling of, wow, you're seen, like somebody sees you for you, somebody's giving you that praise and that attention and that just on the bare minimum, just appreciation. So this is what's needed in your life. So that analogy of like, you want to feel hoisted up by that team of football players, you want to feel hoisted up by your partner and love and acknowledge. That's what this card is. That's what you're needing more of in your life. So again, this is the Six of Wands.
All right, Allison, we want to thank you for your question today, and we hope that answer from Psychic Marin resonated with you as well. We are going to be wrapping up here in a few minutes, but we still have some time for a couple more card pulls. But we did want to shout out real quick, Marin, when is that very next time you are going to be online and available for these one-on-one readings on CaliforniaPsychics.com? Again, just as a reminder real quick, that Marin is not just limited to a tarot related insight, but we like to keep this as more of a themed live stream. But if you are looking for expert advice on many different topics, Marin is also one of our top timeline psychics. So if you have any timeline related questions on when is something going to occur, Marin is perfect for those kind of questions. You can find her on CaliforniaPsychics.com. And I apologize for asking this earlier and then cutting you off, Marin. But
It's okay.
when is the very next time you are going to be online and ready for these one-on-one readings on CaliforniaPsychics.com?
I will be on tonight, Friday night, Saturday night, and all day long Sunday. And my typical schedule is I work a few hours in the afternoon and then a few hours every evening, just to accommodate all the time zones. And I also accept appointments.
Amazing. And also, I did want to shout out once again to use that code growth20 right below me to get 20% off your very next purchase on California Psychics. It will expire on April 15th. So write that code down. And we want to thank you, everybody, for attending our live streams and also following us on social media. This code is exclusive to our social media. So just a huge thank you again for everybody following us. And to follow us for more. And as well, one final note is that if you want that guaranteed one-on-one reading with a guaranteed answer to any of your questions, maybe if you missed your question getting answered today, CaliforniaPsychics.com is where you can direct your questions to, and you again will get a guaranteed answer to your question. Now, our next card pull is going to be for Stephanie, who is requesting a general card pull from you for April, please.
General card for April. Well, this seems to be pretty promising. This is the World card. This is the final card in the tarot. And this is seen as you have it all. You've achieved it all. This is perfect harmony and balance. We have the four different elements represented by these figures in the four corners: earth, air, fire, water. We've got this laurel wreath surrounding this individual. We've got the red crisscrosses that are actually infinity ellipsis. And this individual in the figure is cloaked because it's believed that this is partially male, partially female, because that represents the balance of male and female, that duality. And the staffs that this individual's holding are lit on both ends. There's energy coming out of both ends. So this is just shown as male, female, perfect balance, all the elements surrounded in a circle that's continuous with these spiraling figure eights. Like, you've achieved it all. The only thing left now is to start over and do it again. What's new? What's next? And that next card that follows this is the Fool card. and that next journey. So if this card came up in a reading, this would be an indicator of like breakthrough and new changes for you, new harmony. What's next? Because you're finally going to start to feel some momentum, movement, some energy again. So again, this is the World card. This is a really good card.
Amazing. Stephanie, we want to thank you for stopping by today. And we hope that answer from Psychic Marin resonated with you. And that was a wonderful card from the world. Now, our next card pull comes from Linda. Linda is asking you, Marin, what do the cards say to expect at the end of Mercury retrograde here in a few days? What is kind of the new growth or the new movement that Linda is going to be embarking on once Mercury retrograde ends?
I like it, Linda. Great question. Okay, let me look at this just a little bit deeper. Mm. This is the moon. I've got to have to check my astrology on this because I want to see how this pairs or how relatable it is. The moon comes up into our lives because this is when it's time to start to look at our shadow side, the side of us that we don't really show the world, our darker, not so much like secrets, like skeletons in the closet energy, but more of like things that we aren't proud of. Maybe there's some vices, maybe there's some habits, maybe there's some aspects about our personality. But we see this in a couple different ways. First of all, we see this little crustacean, this little crawdad lobster figure that's coming down from below. Well, these are bottom feeders. So this is at the very bottom of the sea, and all of that darkness that we don't normally get to see on the surface. Well, here we've got this interesting visual where this figure is coming up out of the abyss, and it's getting ready to divide and walk this path right between the wolf and the dog. And so the top of this image is the moon, but on the other side of this moon we see that shadow of the opposing the face. So that's what's really the two key points. I could talk all day long about this moon card because there's a lot of buried symbolism in this, but just to keep it brief, we've got those two key points that are showing us there's clutter from below in our lives. There's stuff that we need to confront or deal with. So those dark moons working with the new moon or the dark moon where there is no moon, that's a time to meditate, to pull out this energy or to work with that shadow sides of ourself. Because one the belief is, or the theory is, that we have done so much self growth that there are no shadow sides. There aren't these hidden aspects of ourselves that are secret or uncomfortable or we don't understand. That through meditation, through spiritual tools like the tarot, through leaning into those uncomfortable feelings and really wanting to understand, where did that feeling come from? Where did that reaction come from? Has that been there since childhood? Why am I traumatized by this? What's reoccurring in my life that's not allowing me to grow and move past this? That all falls into the category of shadow work. And shadow work looks like that's what's next after this Mercury retrograde.
All right. Linda, thank you for attending today's live stream as well. And want to thank you for your question. I did see your follow-up, but I did want to give a few more minutes just to answer another question. But we want to thank you for that question that you asked today, and we hope that insight from Marin resonated with you. Our next one is from Vicky, who is just requesting a general card for April, please.
Okay, give me just 1 second for April. Not as positive. We can't end on this one, Carson. This is the Five of Swords. This is seen as a little bit of betrayal. So I don't know if there's an aspect of your life that's making you question, is there dishonesty? Is there deceit? Is there cheating? Is there betrayal? What makes this card particularly worse than the similar card, which is that Seven of Swords? This Five of Swords is like, I've fought you, we've battled it out, and now I'm like turning over my shoulder to look at it, make sure you know who's boss. You know that I can dominate. You know that I can win. You know that I'm doing this and I'm going to continue to do it. So there's an arrogance behind this card that's really raw and painful. In comparison, that Seven of Swords, I'm unfortunately not going to be able to find it quick enough to compare, but that Seven of Swords energy is so, so similar, except it doesn't have that intention of, yeah, and if you keep challenging me, we're going to fight even more. Like this person is prepared for domination, and it's just a nasty energy. So I'm sorry that this is what April feels like for you. So don't be a victim of this kind of energy.
All right, Vicky, we want to thank you for stopping by today, and we hope you enjoyed that answer from Psychic Marin here. We want to thank you, everybody, for attending today's Tarot Thursday live stream. We do have to cut it short just a few minutes for stuff on our side to get ready for something here in a few minutes. But we want to thank you, everybody, for joining us today for today's Tarot Thursday once again. And as a gift just from us at California Psychics, we want to make sure you use that code GROWTH20 for 20% off your very next purchase on California Psychics for your next one-on-one reading. For example, with Psychic Marin here, if you enjoyed a little free preview of her abilities and her answering style when it comes to answering questions. That 20% off can be used one time, but it expires at the end, not the end, mid-month April. So you can go ahead and write down that code GROWTH20 and save it if you are wanting to use it here in a little bit. But if you are wanting that one-on-one reading experience, Marin, can you shout out the very next time you are going to be online and ready for these one-on-one reading experiences on CaliforniaPsychics.com and the California Psychics app?
Yes, Carson, I will be on tonight, Friday night, Saturday night, all afternoon, Sunday. And my typical schedule is I work afternoons and evenings almost every day of the week to accommodate all the time zones. So book an appointment if you get stuck in my queue. Sometimes I have busier hours, especially in the evening. So you can always snag that appointment that gets you a call right at the top of the hour.
Yes. And once again, we want to thank you, everybody, for joining us and following us on our social media channels. We love to give y'all these opportunities to get a free answer to y'all's question and see our gifted psychics in action, just like Psychic Marin here. So if you are wanting that continued experience with her, you can go visit us at CaliforniaPsychics.com. And once again, use that code GROWTH20. We want to make sure it's super stressed how special it is. And also it's just a thank you for following us again on social media and attending today's live stream. So once again, thank you, everybody. And until next time, our next Tarot Thursday should be at the end of this month, but if not, also at the beginning of next May. You can catch us. I believe it will be May 8th or May 1st. So the very first day of May.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you,
a
everybody.
powerful day. Thank you.
Yes. And until
Bye-bye.
next time, bye-bye.